Welcome to the Business Power Hour with Lisa and the Music Man. Live from Studio C at media stations in Bohemia, New York.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Business Power Hour with the lovely Lisa and the wonderful Music Man. Can I say that?
Yes, you
Because
can.
last week
you
I
are
didn't
a
say
wonderful
that,
music
and
man.
you reprimanded me for not building myself up a little bit.
Exactly. We need to have Norman, the music man, built up. He is quite the gentleman.
Gentlemen, whoa. You
Yeah.
really don't know me.
Oh.
Okay. You have next to you on our screen, on my screen anyway, you have a giant of a man who's sitting right opposite me, but right next to you. And he's our guest for tonight, and his name is J.D. Collier, and he is involved with an organization called Eagle Impact. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Eagle
right.
Impact.
Well, welcome this
Yep.
evening. And you really are the man. You drove from
Yes.
Allentown, Pennsylvania in this disgusting, horrible day, right, just to be sitting over here. So I certainly take that, and so does Lisa, as a
Yes.
wonderful compliment. But before
And
we jump into you, Lisa, what did you do this week? Where the heck are you?
I am in the state of Arkansas, just south of Bentonville,
Bentonville.
which
Why?
That's a
W-
headquarters
Walmart.
of Walmart.
Why would you
Walmart
be there?
headquarters. Well, I have some team members that we came together to have an in-person meeting this week. We needed to get our heads around something that we're working on.
What kind of
And,
team? Is that
well,
part of a business?
It is part of a business. It's
Okay.
another business that we have. I'll introduce that when it's ready. It's still in its beta testing stages.
We have to be the
hold
first
off.
ones to get it out there.
And there you go. Yes, we'll have to share that.
Okay.
And also, JD, thank you for your service in the military. I married a
Amen.
Marine, so
I was
I
Navy.
appreciate all
Was it
you've
a
done.
Navy?
You were in the
Yeah?
Marines?
No,
No, my
thought-
husband.
Your husband?
A husband
Oh,
was in Marines.
My
yes.
That's
husband.
outstanding. Yeah. Thanks for
Yeah.
his service and your sacrifice. And
Thank
you
you.
for paying the taxes.
Yes. we
I'm
do
the
that.
only one who hasn't done the service. I feel like I shouldn't. I'm going to leave.
No, you are
I'm gonna
not.
go.
You are giving a nice service right now.
I just told you thanks for paying the taxes.
I
That's a
appreciate that.
service.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, I just did my tax return this week.
Good job.
Ah,
yeah.
You're ahead of
Me
the game.
too, and I still owe.
Well, I
that's
own
always
one
tough.
and getting back from the other, so I'm a little bit ahead of the game. Speaking of being in the head of the game, you have come a long way in your business world. I know that. Well, why don't you tell us? I'm not here to talk about what you've done in your history. I'm here to ask some questions based upon some information that you've given us. But as a young man, you said you lived where?
I grew up in the area of West Texas, which includes Clovis, New Mexico.
Okay, and you played football. You played
did.
football at Clovis
I did.
High School, and
Yes.
then you played a little college ball.
I did. I played 1 year at Navy, and I was a red shirt. Got to do a lot of practicing, and I realized that I was just a little too injured to keep going. I had this stinger, from hitting people really hard. It's a pinched nerve in your neck, and
You are a big guy.
yeah, well,
Yeah, but then everybody's big
there's a lot
compared
of
to
bigger,
me.
There's a lot of bigger guys than me. All right, I mean, yeah, I'm 6 foot tall, 225 pounds, but
You look bigger than 6 feet.
well, it's about 6 feet.
Yeah, all right. Well,
Yeah,
that's cool.
Norman, you're just a little guy.
I'm not a little guy. I'm short.
Well, yes, but so am I.
Yes, you
I'm
are.
not much. Yeah, I'm no
But
taller than you.
with
well,
me,
not
it's a
much
bit
taller.
more noticeable.
Right.
So you played a little football, and then you got out of there, and you knew how to find a career. And what did you think about doing?
So, in high school, I was a pretty good student, and I did want to go to college. And so I probably about the 10th grade year, I was really starting to look into the military. And, my dad had been in the Air Force, and we lived in that same town where he had served in the Air Force. So it was an Air Force town, and I was thinking Air Force. And, so I decided I wanted to go for it all. I wanted to try to go to the academy. And so, I did well in school and played football and did other sports and
makes
all
sense.
those things. And I went and I sought to get a nomination from congressman. I got 2 nominations to the Air
Nice.
Force
Now-
Academy.
Now, were you in ROTC or Civil Air Patrol?
No, not
In
in
any
high
of that?
school. I was busy with other things like football and
Okay.
I worked too, so I was kind of
Yep.
busy. They did have Air Force ROTC,
Yeah.
but I didn't do that. And I guess I came late to the realization in my high school career that I wanted to go into the military.
The
So,
military.
yeah.
Okay.
A lot of folks who did the ROTC, they started early in
Yes.
high school and they carried it on,
Yes.
so.
Right.
But they were all cool. I had some good friends who were in ROTC. But like I said, I was
Good.
pretty busy. Football takes
Yep.
a lot of time. I mean, you have to have a
Yeah.
respect for people who they practice all year long. I mean, it's not just the football
Well, there's
season.
nothing
then you got
else out
off season.
there, right? I mean, that's the social entertainment part of Texas.
You're right. I mean, really, we have a pretty big stadium. It's very big. It can hold a lot of people. And on Friday night, it gets pretty busy. And
Yeah.
where I was playing football during the '80s, and my team was pretty good. I mean, we did very well. We won a lot of games. We actually got very close to the state championship. Unfortunately, we
Nice.
lost the game. The game that we lost was out of town, and if we had won that game, the next game would have been the state championship right there in our hometown. We would have had home field advantage.
In all the
but we
football
lost.
movies that I've watched over the years, where you have a high school football team, it's always in Texas. Always in Texas. I don't think it's
Yeah.
ever been any place
I
else
never-
but Texas.
So
I
yeah,
never
you're-
paid attention to that.
maybe my injury might be because of playing a little extra amount of football, because I got to be, when I was on junior varsity, I got to play some games with the sophomore teams, and so sometimes I would get 2 games a week.
Oh.
One of those games, it was New Mexico, but we were really close to the Texas Panhandle. We'd always go play Texas teams, and that's probably one of the reasons why we were very competitive, is because we played a lot of Texas teams, including Amarillo and Lubbock. And
Was the coach tough?
oh yeah, he was an excellent coach. He he was considered and probably is the winningest coach of all time in the state of New Mexico. Coach Roanhouse.
Wow.
He's a legend. He went on for many, many years, and I was blessed, for the whole football program to be in it and learn. It's really a leadership laboratory. I mean, you learn leadership skills on the field, working hard, teamwork, all those things that, it really did kind of steer me towards the military. Not saying that everybody plays football goes in the military, but it really does prepare you well for going into the service.
Any
So-
sport
Yeah,
program
and-
I would
really
say so,
gives you
yes.
that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps direct the leadership as well.
Yeah, and it's not only a sport, but it's other things too. Band, okay, debate club. I mean, things like that
Oh,
are very
yeah.
important. You got me thinking a little bit about high school. When I was a sophomore, there weren't many clubs going on, and there was plenty of people talking about all the partying they were doing. And I wrote a letter.
Did you miss those parties, or did you know?
No,
where
I
they
wasn't.
were?
I wasn't going to the parties. I guess I was a geek, but I.
You weren't invited.
I was so geeky that I wrote a letter to the principal and like, principal, all I hear is everybody talking about all these parties, and shouldn't there be more things like math club and science club?
That is pretty geeky.
man.
Yep.
And no, yeah. So he got all the teachers and rounded them up and said, "Let's make a bunch of clubs." And like there was all kinds of clubs for the rest of my high
And then
school
all kinds
career,
of
which was
people
great.
beat you up and stuff like that. They jumped all
not
over
really.
you.
No, that
Not at his size.
because I
Come
was
on.
on the football team. That's another thing.
Well,
you
was
know?
the football team partying, or did they want geeky clubs?
They
I
have
wasn't
to
at those
sign
parties if they did. So
Yeah, and they
I
have to
was
sign
busy studying.
documentation.
So after you joined those geeky clubs and you graduated from high school, and then you went over to college.
Yeah, so I was telling you about the Air Force. Okay, I wanted to go to the academy. I got a couple of congressional nominations, and all was going well. And then I got to the medical examination, and all was well except for my eyes. They're like,
Oh,
"Well,
no.
did you know you're not 20/20?" No, I didn't know that. So because of that issue with my eyes, the Air Force said, "Sorry, Collier," but they took a while to tell me that because I was a senior and I was really holding out for the Air Force. The Navy had sent me an ROTC scholarship because I had done okay on my ACT and SAT, and they're like, here you go, you can come to the Navy, and I I wrote the Navy a letter,
Oh no.
dear Chief of Naval Education and Training, thank you for the scholarship, but I'm going to go ahead and give it back. You can give it to somebody else because I'm waiting for Air Force.
That wasn't good.
I did that.
That wasn't a good career move. Well, maybe it
my
was a
goodness.
good career move
I-
because you did from the Navy. You did
Did they
join the Navy.
reenact? Did they
Well-
reenact your scholarship?
So here's what happened is I found out, after I'd already gotten rid or turned back the Navy's offer, then I found out from Air Force that, sorry, you didn't make it because of your eyes. And so I was like, what am I going to do? I was just drifting after I graduated. I got to say a speech at graduation. I was one of the good students. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? All summer, almost of the summer goes by. Here comes July. And I'm like, you know what? I got to do something. My dad and I are starting to butt heads. He went, time to get out of the house, So,
Yep.
Yeah.
so I got typed. It was a typewriter, I'm showing my hands typing the keys. I typed the letter
I type like that.
to the Chief of Naval Education and Training and asked for my scholarship back. And he's like, here you go, Collier. Gave it right back. So I got to
Nice.
go, in August, I got to go to school at the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque, where I did go into ROTC. There I was in the Navy ROTC program for a year. And, I was doing well enough, and, I was going to be a mechanical engineering major there.
Nice.
I started doing this thing called drill team where I hadn't done fancy marching and rifle tossing and all that stuff, but I started doing that at Albuquerque there at the University of New Mexico, and I was doing well enough. And here comes the second semester, and a new lieutenant came on board, and he announced his name and said, anybody interested in the Naval Academy, come see me. I'm like, Naval Academy? I'm like, wow, maybe I could try it. Why not? I'll go knock on his door, bang, bang, bang. He's like, okay, here's the deal. If you're interested, you need to fill out all these forms and get them back to me tomorrow morning. Like, it was a stack. It was like we were right
Was
up
this a
against the
test?
deadline. And like, okay. So I pulled an all-nighter, wrote, all the stuff. Some of them are essays, like who is your hero? And I wrote my dad as my hero. And, anyway, long story short, I got accepted to the Naval Academy. So,
Beautiful.
you think I'm a really smart guy, but how smart is somebody who has to go to 2 freshman years of college? I mean, if you're smart, you do 2 senior years, but I did 2 freshman years. So, my second freshman year was actually plebe year at Navy. And yeah, that was a pretty tough time. I don't want to do that again.
So what is the construction force? You mentioned the construction force. Tell us about that.
Sure, yeah. So my engineering, I did get an engineering degree from the academy, and I service selected to go into submarines, and I started in my nuclear training for submarines. So all this engineering, nuclear, all this stuff. Well,
Can I interrupt you 1 second?
sure.
I heard something today. Lisa, I don't know if you're aware of this either. And our former president, Carter.
Yes. He's
Well,
on hospice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Forget that for a second. He was the youngest person in the armed services who worked on nuclear submarines. And I found out that Canada, you might know this, Lisa, had
Maybe.
something like Chernobyl. You had one of these
Oh.
or 2 of these kind of explosions,
Really?
nuclear explosions. And he was one that was able to fix it and rebuild, to come up with the plan to help Canada get back on its feet again.
Wow.
And
I had no
at
idea.
27 or 28 years of age.
He was a very smart man, or is a smart man.
Yep.
He graduated top of his class, in 1946 at the academy, at the Naval Academy. And, he was our 39th president. And I would support, they actually changed, in my naval studies, I was in this hall called Maury Hall, which was named after someone who was involved in the Confederacy. They're like, well, let's change that name.
Time for
Let's
an
make it
update.
Jimmy Carter Hall. So they did, and I'm happy for
Nice.
that. That's cool. I'm very happy.
Yeah.
that
Yeah, he
they
was
named
a
it his
terrific
name.
individual.
He's been quite the humanitarian over the years. I mean, the Homes for America and all that he's done, it's been
And you know, Homes
phenomenal.
for Humanity.
Yeah.
Homes for Humanity. Yeah.
That's very big here, and as it is in around the country, but really big in New York.
Is
Really,
it
really
is it
big.
the same
Yes.
as Habitat for Humanity?
Yeah, same
Okay.
thing.
Same. Okay,
Same
got
thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's
so
go
I was
back.
telling you about. You're asking me about construction. So I started in nuclear service. I got a chance to go into construction, and I did. I went into the Navy's construction force, where I got to be a project manager. I got to be a public works officer, and the funnest thing I got to be was a Navy Seabee. So I was in the construction battalion, and that's the Navy construction force. Okay, not only
My father was a CB in World War II in New Guinea.
oh wow, man,
Yep.
now that's
In New Guinea?
In New Guinea, yes.
What is New
Back in the
Guinea?
40s.
Guinea.
Oh,
New Guinea.
New
Yeah.
Guinea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
New
Yes.
Guinea.
So
Yes.
they realized that they needed CBs pretty quickly because when we entered the war in late 1941, they started to send some contractors over there to the Pacific to start doing some work, but the contractors, the personnel, the civilians who are driving bulldozers are getting attacked, and they can't defend themselves. So it only took until March the 5th to go ahead, March the 5th, 1942, for them to go ahead and authorize the CBs to be created. And so that's the birthday of the CBs, March the 5th, 1942. And, basically they had to build all these runways on islands across the Pacific so that we could bring the fight to
Right.
the Japanese and win the war. And that's what we
Yes.
did.
Yes, we
Yep.
did.
And my father was on that workforce of the CBs over there, building those airports and whatever. He had me in his late 40s, so he's passed many years now. He would have been probably 104, 105 right now if he were still alive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
then you got involved in logistics. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did. So I was a construction guy in the service, and after being on deployment long enough to realize that I'd missed half of my son's life, he was still a toddler, but if I was going to continue in my career in the Navy, I was going to have to do more of that. So I said, nah, that's time for me to get out, and I went ahead and got out of the Navy at the 8-year point, and I was flying to a job interview on September 11th, 2001. I'm already processing out, so I know what I was doing that day. You probably know what you were doing. And anyway,
Yep.
I was getting out just as we had the 9/11 economy, the recession that came after 9/11. And well, the job that I could get at the time was a logistics job, and it wasn't really the same thing I was doing. It was something different. But I got it and I took it and moved my family up to Tennessee, and I was there for about 5 years doing some logistics. And basically, we were, you see a lot of warehouses. I know where I live, and I see you nodding
Yeah,
over there,
they're
Lisa.
still they're still building them.
They're
all the
building
way
them
to-
all over America,
Yeah.
man. I mean, so
Yep.
those kind of warehouses, I know what goes on inside those places. There's a lot of hard work goes on in there. The forklift operating, it can be very dangerous. People can get killed even.
That's why you got to be certified.
Yeah, yeah. So, but and the thing about that work that was tough for me was it was the long hours. I mean, we were doing startup operations, and it took 12, 14 hours sometimes 6 days a week. And I got out of the Navy so that I could see my son more, and I wasn't seeing him anymore. Like,
You'd
I
see him
was
in his
wore out.
bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, my son's growing up, and he doesn't get to see his dad, except I'm always nodding off when I'm home because I was so tired,
What industry you did logistics? Was it for a particular industry?
Well, it was medical products, medical healthcare products. So,
And the shipping was just in the States?
no, there was international as well. So we would have to prepare shipments. And Tennessee was a kind of a focal point of the middle of America. That's where the FedEx hub is, and that's why they chose to build a new facility there, because it's just so convenient. You can pack, 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 pack until the stroke of midnight, and that's when they shut the door on the FedEx truck, and it drives to the terminal and takes that stuff. It can still be delivered next day, so that gives you more time.
I get stuff delivered to me the same day. How in the world is that possible?
You live in New York.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
still, but
probably.
the same day. I mean, I'm not the only
Yeah.
one
Because
placing orders.
you probably have a distribution center that's close by, and they probably have cutoff times where they can make, if you drop an order by, I don't know, say 10 o'clock or something like that, maybe you can expect it by 4 that day because they might be able to get it packed by 2, I mean, it could be that they've got it dialed in that well. I know we didn't have things dialed in that well. We were just doing a startup operation, and it was very tough. That was very hard work, and I have a lot of respect for that logistics.
Back in the
work.
day, I was in the headhunting world, and I was in it for a really long time. And one of my clients, Barnes & Noble, had a logistics center in Pennsylvania. And they were just building a brand new warehouse, and they needed something I didn't know. I learned what it was when the time came. A logistics system, very state of the art. Found a guy in Texas and packed him up and his horses. He had to have
They're like his pets, probably.
They had to have a
Yeah.
horse. So the house that he bought didn't have a barn or a stable. It was down about a half a mile down the road. He was able to put the horses there, and he wound up taking the job. And from what I understand, until about 5 years ago, he was with them for quite a long time.
You know that you can FedEx a horse?
No,
No,
really?
You can. You can
Wow.
FedEx a horse.
Do you
I
know
got to
that?
take a tour of the FedEx terminal there in Memphis, and they're like, "Yeah, we can FedEx a horse."
Wow,
That's,
that's crazy.
That's crazy.
Do you know Uber is going into the freight business or is in the freight business now?
Might as well. I mean, we've
Yeah,
got so
they're
much
doing
desire
logistics.
or need for it. But, you see
Yeah.
the Uber Eats, and you see the Door Dashes, and people are more accustomed to having things delivered to their front door. they're
Oh, they are.
they're more willing to go
Yeah.
click, 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 and save the gas and the time, and
Yeah. Yeah. So, what is an interesting story that you'd like to share with us and the audience?
Well, okay. Recently, I posted on LinkedIn a story, which I think got a lot of attention. People liked it a lot, and it's about my bride. So she's
Ah.
probably watching now. Hi, Amy. I love
Hi,
you.
Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Yeah. So it's about cookies.
Real cookies.
Yeah.
Not
So-
a dog named Cookie or a
Right.
horse named Cookie.
Well, I have a dog named Cookie, by the
Oh,
way. We
see?
can talk about
Oh.
that. But anyway, basically it's a love story. And I told you that I came from West Texas and went to the East Coast. I'm there in Maryland, and I got this roommate from Pennsylvania.
Uh-oh.
I
hear the
had another
connection
roommate from
now.
Long Island as well. Anyway, my Pennsylvania roommate, he keeps getting cookies every
Ooh.
week, and we're freshmen, right? We're always hungry. We're starving. Of course, kids are like that, And I was like, well, this roommate, he keeps getting cookies, and every week he gets cookies from his mother. His mother makes them.
She makes them for him?
Yeah, every single Wednesday he got we call it a chow package. So anyway, my roommate gets these cookies from his mom, and it going okay. And he's like, hey, my mom wants to know what kind of cookies you want next week. I'm like, how about chocolate chip? So it was going along all right, And well, the second semester begins, and might have been like February, maybe this time, maybe it could have been this part of February. He gets a different box of cookies, not from his mom. And I'm pretty used to what his mom's cookies are. I'm tasting the cookie. I'm like, who made this? He said, my cousin Amy.
Oh, there you go.
She's also
Oh.
from Allentown, Pennsylvania. I'm like, oh, yeah? You got a picture?
Ah.
So he shows me a picture of her. I'm like, oh, And I thought, I don't have to meet her, because I figured she's pretty. And
So
she
you
cooks.
thanked her for the cookies, and you
Yeah,
wormed your way into a date.
It wasn't that easy, but I did worm my way in. Yes,
Okay.
of course I did. I sneaked in there like
You weren't geeky
he
when
had
it
fu-
came to that.
No, I was Mr. Cool, man.
Yeah.
How could I land her if I was too geeky? But anyway,
That's right.
I don't know. Maybe she liked me being geeky, but anyway, I got to meet her on Easter Sunday. My gracious roommate and his family invited myself and some of the other midshipmen to spend the weekend with them at their house in Pennsylvania. We had an extra day off from Navy, like an extra day of leave, and so, well, I got a chance to meet Amy.
And that was it.
I'm a freshman, and she was still a senior in high school, and so it went well, and I invited her, or asked her to take her to her prom, and she accepted to let me take her to her prom, and that was nice. I got to put on my nice Navy uniform and take her to her prom. And
Blues or whites or
I was in my choker whites. Yeah, the choker whites.
Nice.
Like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I guess it's the Tom Cruise look.
Exactly.
That's what you're probably thinking right now. Like, in fact, that was one of the movies that was inspiring.
That's what got you there, huh?
Yeah. So Top Gun in the 80s, of course,
The new Top Gun was great too.
I was watching it.
Oh,
I was
love
watching
In
it
fact,
then too.
We were gonna watch the new Top Gun at my house. We're gonna invite people over. My daughter, she had a sore throat this weekend, so we'll do it next weekend.
But we got to jump into your Eagle
we're
Impact
yakking about all this
and
stuff
start
here. What time is it?
discussing it.
Okay.
That being said, we're going to take a short break right now. And Mr. Dillon's going to run some commercials so we can pay for this endeavor. And you just stay tuned, and we'll be right back, folks.
All right.
Hi, everybody. My name is Norman Wasserman, and next to me is Lisa Rodino. Lisa and I host a TV podcast show called The Business Power Hour with Lisa and the Music Man.
So what does the Business Power Hour do? We are here to talk about you and your business. We will put you on air for 1 hour to highlight your business in front of thousands of viewers worldwide, helping you generate more leads to grow your business.
And we do this every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. right here. What are you doing?
I'm keeping you on point.
Many businesses fail due to lack of adequate funding, and it's extremely difficult for startups and early-stage companies to be approved for financing or business credit. We say yes to funding when others may have told you no. Our approval rate is more than 85%. That's because we created a custom process that assures your company gets access to the best funding for your situation, regardless of any past rejections. We offer a new and innovative business funding and credit solution. Our exclusive process is administered by a qualified team of financial strategists who work together with you one-on-one to guide you step by step so you don't have to struggle to find quality funding for your business. We believe all great business ideas deserve to be approved for funding. Set yourself up for success and increase your access to capital so your business will not only succeed, but thrive. Give us a call now and start your success plan today.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Friend Entertainment USA. My name is Norman Wasserman. I am also known as the Music Man. Let me just tell you a little bit about Friend Entertainment. We put on concerts for charities, and we do that everywhere from New York to Las Vegas. We do R&B, Motown, rock and roll, jazz, whatever it is that you wish. Friend Entertainment will deliver the best of the best for you and your charity. Here are some of the names of the talent that have performed with us on our stage. Stevie Wonder, Tina Turner, The Temptations, Earth, Wind and Fire, the one and only ELO, Elton John himself, Kool and the Gang, and the fabulous Donna Summer. Go to our website, friendentusa.com. That's www.friendentusa.com, or feel free to call us at 631-698-9696. 631-698-9696, and we'll see you at the next show.
Okay, and welcome back to the Business Power Hour with Lisa and the Music Man and our special guest, J.D. Collier. And also, if you want to call in tonight and say a few words to J.D., maybe you know him, maybe you've worked with him, give us a call at 631-987-8477. That's 631-987-8477. So, J.D., the purpose of you being here tonight was to let people know all about your business, Eagle Impact. So let's start from not the beginning, but the beginning of Eagle Impact, and how you got the symbol, what the eagle means, and what your business is actually doing.
Okay. So I mentioned I started my career in logistics. I ended up coming to Pennsylvania, started working back in construction, worked one job down in Philadelphia, got my MBA, and then when I got the MBA, I got a new job up in Allentown, and it was a great job. I mean, I was a director, and at the about almost 2.5 year time frame, they had a layoff, and I got to become a free agent, and I was, taken aback. When that happened, I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting to be out of work. And at the time, my wife was 9 months pregnant. She had the baby in
Always
January.
at that time.
Of course, anyway, being off of work suddenly, I got to thinking, what happened? I'm in my basement, it's a time when you realize how much your work is important to you. And it's the first time in my whole life when I didn't have work in my hands and I have to find a job.
Yeah.
It was like I didn't have a plan laid out. I didn't have things already figured out. I didn't have a network. I did have a little network. And anyway, it turns out the network is how I got my job, because I only had 150 LinkedIn followers at the time, but I was going down my list and I saw one of my friends there and had coffee with him, and he knew of the job, which I now have. So I've been working this job for 9 years where I'm in sales. And anyway,
what are you selling?
I sell construction services. So it's the service of
all
inspection.
Construction services?
No, it's technical services, quality assurance services, inspection expediting, and the services are provided around the globe. And it's my day job, and I do very well at it. But going back to my basement, I'm crying this is before I even knew I got this job. And I had to take inventory of what happened in my career. Why did I end up in this position? I was just going all the way back to when I first got out and asking, well, I really didn't like that first job, but I took it and I worked it. It took me 5.5 years to finally get out of it. Why did I even do that in the first place? I started asking myself these really tough questions and coming up with answers of I could have done this or I could have done that, and I could have decided this or that. But at the time, I didn't have anybody I could confide in that I really trusted who could give me that good advice.
Now, you wanted advice on your next position, or you wanted advice?
When I was in that transitional state, coming out of the service, you're very vulnerable, right? I was trained in warfare. Okay, I'm a leader. I'm I'm all there, until I finally decided, I'm going to go ahead and get out. Now what, right? Then you got to change from being this military person to becoming the civilian, and everybody does it eventually, but it's not an easy process. And I thought it would have been helpful had I been better coached at the time, in that very tender moment in my life. If I would have listened, because I know
needed a mentor.
I didn't have somebody that I would have actually listened to, because you're just gung ho. I know everything, but I'll do it. I go. That's what you're like, right? And there were companies that invited me to work with them to find me a job at the time, and they did. They found me this job that turned out wasn't good for me.
That happens.
It happens, but I also, because of my training, the service training, I was so committed. I make a decision, I'm committed, I'm going to do it. I stuck around that job longer probably than I should have, for myself and for my family. It was very stressful, and in this stage of my career, I'm in the oil and gas field, or the energy field is probably the best fit for me. Now I know that.
Why is that?
I just think that
He was doing nuclear,
well,
right?
I was doing nuclear. There's a certain respect for procedures, kind of like back in the service, right? You have respect for the procedures, the plan, the orders, in the energy field, you have to have respect for the regulations. Okay, you don't want to blow something up. You don't want to get anybody hurt.
Right.
And
Right.
it's just a good fit, for someone coming out of the service. The energy sector is. I didn't realize that at the time. I mean, maybe somebody had mentioned it, but it didn't catch my ear. It didn't catch my attention. So I thought, what if there had been some organization that was like that actually looked at me and cared about me as a candidate enough to give me that good advice, right? But there wasn't, because all the companies that were existing at the time and even now are more focused on filling slots for
But the
their
idea
clients.
is you had to find a company that would interview you, talk to you, find out really what you're all about, and then make a recommendation to you. But you didn't go there.
Well, I mean, I can't. I got to give some credit where credit's due. Companies did do that,
But that's after you went in there.
yeah. So
But sometimes the mindset of the military when they're coming out, they know what they've been through, and that transition is tough because when you become a civilian, it's a 180 twist. You no longer have the leaders telling you where to go, what to do. Now you're in control, but sometimes you may not understand that and understand the control, right?
Yes, and it's a different environment. I mentioned respect. That's something I see. It's just a natural thing in the service.
That's
respecting
what it's built on.
your elders or people that are appointed over you.
You got to respect your
You got to
superiors.
respect the instructions, the plan, all that
absolutely.
stuff. It's just part of your DNA. In fact, that's one of the things I want to tell you about is you become imbued with respect. That's one of the attributes. You become imbued. But so when in my basement, I came up with this idea, like, I also looked back at some of the negatives that had happened when I was in the service. Rah, everybody's, everything. You're feeling like you're just like $1 million, like you can do anything, But then you get in civilian life, and there are plenty of limitations. You got to learn how to do things differently, and you're kind of tentative, and you're not necessarily raising up your hand and making recommendations because you're not sure, and because you're trying to become this civilian person. It takes a long time. It takes longer for some than others. Anyway, I realized that I had tried to put a lot of my values of being in the service, kind of pushed them down, tamped them down in me so that I could become this civilian person so much. And even as hard as I tried, I really couldn't push those things out. They were still there. In fact, they're there now. And I discovered that there were these values that are just, they're who I am. It's like...
So you use them.
And now I'm like, wait a minute, these values are important. They're really
Absolutely.
valuable
Yeah.
values.
You can't.
And it's strength, honor, courage, commitment, respect. Those are like the core things that make the service member who they are. And I thought about it a little further because there are some negatives with regard to the term veteran, okay? And veteran... When I hear it, a lot of times I hear the negative side of it, where many times, there's media that may portray someone as being, disabled or in despair, homeless. There's a lot of different negatives out there, which unfortunately too often prevail. Okay, the negatives. They're worried about saying thanks for your service because they don't know how to talk to someone who came from the service, and there's a tentative, the negative malaise. Okay, it shouldn't be that way, but there's a kind of a gap between the civilian world and the ever shrinking people who came through the service, and the gap of misunderstanding. Okay, so to me, the word veteran, with it being in a negative light in many cases, not all the time, but in many cases, I just kind of want to wipe that negative away.
I don't see it as a negative. I see you contributed to this country. Mm-hmm. You perform a task, you perform a service, and now you're done. All right?
And the respect that the military learn is something that is missing in the general civilization.
But that's something that can be taught.
And it is something that can be taught. And
it should come from the culture.
Well, you understand, but not everybody was brought up like you and had that kind of basic responsibility and learning as a child. All right, so it all depends on the demographics and the way you grew up, how you grew. I mean, growing up in Clovis, Texas, or whatever it's called, is not the same thing as growing up in the Bronx, New York.
There might be some similarities, though. There's the rough neighborhood. There's the same, scrappy people that can be. You can be a scrappy person in West Texas. You can be a scrappy person in the Bronx.
But that's a different kind of scrappy.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's all good. You'll have that.
It is still a certain.
You use it.
Character. Good leadership.
So
good
what does Eagle Impact do?
Eagle Impact. I am intent to rebrand the veteran. To rebrand the word veteran, get rid of it. And I'm rebranding it as the Eagle. And not only because the veteran only portrays the armed forces, people coming from the armed forces service. That's the veteran, right? That's a small part of the problem. Shrinking. Well, it's not only someone who comes through the armed forces service that becomes the Eagle. The Eagle is somebody who had given sworn service. They operated under the oath of service and the code of conduct, okay? And they did it for a certain period of time that they became imbued with these ideals: strength, honor, courage, commitment, respect. So it's not only armed forces, it's also law enforcement, fire and rescue, first responders, and their spouses, okay? So I talked about my wife.
Kudos to the spouses.
The spousal partnership is like this. It's one flesh, okay?
Yep.
Yes.
So one spouse, they feel what their uniformed spouse is going through, okay?
Yep.
It's kind of a, mysterious thing, the spousal partnership. Does the spouse know if their loved one's coming back from deployment?
Right.
Does the spouse know if their loved one is coming home for dinner? Live that way for a while, and you become imbued with strength, honor, courage, commitment, respect. And so a spouse of a service member is also the Eagle. Okay?
Oh.
And then, I've seen what's happened recently with the pandemic, and some of the heroes, we relied heavily on medical personnel and education. And,
Yes.
When you are in a type of role where you face danger on behalf of everybody else, if you're a medical person and you're masked up all the time and you're facing that disease and all that stuff, that I got a lot of respect for people coming from medical. And maybe, as I was saying, maybe they want to try something different in their career. Maybe they've just become imbued with these things, and now maybe they want to go into business and do something different.
So what do
And
you
that
do
should be
for
okay.
them? What is it that you do to promote them?
I provide this coaching service, okay, and I call it a virtual Eagle team, okay. So when you're in the service, something that people don't realize in the civilian world is you have a small unit leadership concept. There's a leader and 3 subordinates, okay. That's the smallest unit. Well, the smallest unit would be 1 person, but it's like in the Navy or the Marine Corps, it's called a fire team, okay. So the fire team, there's 3 fire teams that make up a squad. There's 3 squads that make up a platoon. 3 platoons can make up a company, and it goes on and on and on of the chain of command, right? That, 1 leader with 3 subordinates, small unit, is very tight. It's like a family, okay? And when you get out of the service, you don't have that family anymore.
Right.
I want to give you that family again for life with Eagle Impact. So I have had encounters with many people telling them about my idea for Eagle Impact. And there was this one man in Ohio. I was at a rest stop, and I was just chatting with him. And he was in his 80s, and he was telling me had been in the service. And I was like, yeah, I'm talking about Eagle Impact. And I said, one of the things that was really missing when I got out of the service, I realized that I'm not under the oath anymore. And that's one, the oath of service it's like the glue that keeps you together. Everybody's on the same page. There's always a re-enlistment ceremony. Somebody's getting sworn in again, and everybody knows what that means, okay? You're in service. You can't do your job without the oath, and you can't, risking your life to do your job. You have to have that oath. That's what makes you common. But you get out of the service, the oath is gone. Your unit leadership is gone, right? I want to give everybody who had a service background, I want to give them that small unit leadership family that I call the virtual Eagle team, okay? And I want to give them, instead of the oath is mighty powerful because it can go all the way to your death. I want to give them what I call the Eagle's Creed. And it goes like this. This fellow I was talking to, I told him this 80-year-old man, I said, This is the Eagle's creed. As an individual shaped by service adversity, I am the Eagle, imbued with the ideals of service and sacrifice, and I exercise my attributes of strength, honor, courage, commitment, and respect every day. While it was my privilege to serve, it is my pledge to always keep these attributes with which I am imbued, while valuing my customers, succeeding for my company, and advancing my career. I am the Eagle. And he told me, he's like, that's powerful. Like, it is, because I'm getting goosebumps right now. And
You're not alone.
It's like when you go to a re-enlistment ceremony and you see and you hear the oath, it's powerful. Okay.
So where are you getting the vets to coach? How are you getting them?
Okay. I have recently reworked my website, and I'm also reaching out with a podcast of my own. My website is eagleimpact.com. Podcast is called Eagle, Hoss, and Hound. And
Eagle, I'm sorry?
Eagle, Hoss, and Hound.
H-A-U-S?
H-O-S-S, like a horse, like a strong horse.
Okay. Oh, Haas.
Hoss. Eagle,
Got it.
Hoss, and
Right.
Hound. You can find Eagle, Hoss, and Hound wherever you go.
And what
to
phone
get your-
number would people be able to reach you on?
The phone number is 484-633-5259. And you can reach me. The phone number is written on the website, eagleimpact.com. So the idea is I've also got Facebook and YouTube, and I've also got Instagram, and they're all under Eagle Imbued, at Eagle Imbued, EAGLEIMBUED. So that
Are
May
you
I
on
put
the
that in
air
the
yet?
chat?
Are you on the air yet? Have you done your first podcast?
Yeah, I got 58 episodes in there.
That's
So
great.
I just put all your links in the chat for everybody to
Okay.
see and have access to.
Yeah. So I expect to do some more of those episodes. And the other thing is I mentioned the social media, and I understand I'm going to figure this out, but this guy that's just helped me with my website says, hey, I can steer my message directly within Facebook and Instagram to my audience. Like if I want to approach some of the soldiers that are getting out at Fort Hood, I can dial it in and I can get their attention. Same thing if I want to go to Camp Lejeune and I want to say, hey, check out Eagle Impact. You know, we can give you this virtual Eagle team. And the idea is, too, there's a lot of organizations out there that they provide services. And most of these are, you can't, or they say that you can't charge the soldier or, you know, the service member, you can't charge them anything because it's a nonprofit thing. And that's all good and fine. But the problem with that is that as the person who is receiving the service, you know, the service member, they're not really the customer. When it's a nonprofit situation, the person who receives this, they just have to get what can be given, and they don't really have a choice in the matter. Like a customer has a choice. If you're not getting what you expect or you're not satisfied, you can change, go somewhere else, and do your business somewhere else. But when you're not the customer, you don't have that choice. But with Eagle Impact, the Eagle is the customer. Okay, and as a like a coaching firm, a career resources firm, a recruitment firm, I want people who come out of the service to choose Eagle Impact to help them find their work, not only in their first initial job, but every step of their career, to rely on Eagle Impact to find them their next job. And so that means that I also have to work with clients.
How about
customers
finding
that
them
need
their first job out of the service?
Certainly. How do you find the first job out of the service is you have to build a client base that has a need for these jobs and gives the opportunities. And then the opportunities, that's when you can try to do the matchup. Because when you come out of the service, you might want to go close to where you came from in the first place. Or in my case, go where you married your bride at, you know, Pennsylvania.
Closer to her home.
Yeah, which is where we ended up. And we've been here for 15 years now. So we got 3 kids. And, you know, our youngest is 9.
So you do this work for Eagle in the evenings?
Yeah, so in off hours. So I work sometimes on Saturdays. I work in the evenings, early hours in the morning. This year, I'm working to build my audience. I'm doing a lot on LinkedIn. You know, I have a little over 3,000 followers now, and I want to get up to 30,000 this year. And then
Now the
more the next year.
3,000, they're all vets?
No.
What type of people are you getting?
I've probably got about 30% that are veterans, and the rest are just professionals working in the working world.
Who like what you're doing.
Yeah, well,
and with the
yes.
training and the coaching.
Yes, and I do say that I feel or I sense the negative side of the word veteran, but many people don't, and that's great. I'm glad for that. Maybe I'm just sensitive.
You probably are, but there are still those naysayers that, are not thrilled about the military. So, you probably are sensing the right thing.
Yeah,
And the military deserves the respect that they've done through the years.
No, it's not the military. It's the people that come out of the military. See, the military in general, in my opinion, with all the generals and all this other it's the vets that come out and do the dirty work, that need all the credit.
Yes.
And need the help. That's what it is, and that's why when I help vets, those are the people that I'm looking to help.
That's great.
Yeah, boots on the ground.
Yep.
Those folks.
It's not the guys that are
first
sitting
ones.
in the ivory tower smoking a cigar and with all the medals and
All the
stuff
brass,
that's on
yeah.
there. It's the people that they order.
Yeah.
And that they
Direct.
So I
Right.
think that the Eagle comes from a lot of different places. It's not just the Armed Forces veteran, but as I mentioned, it's first responders, it's spouses, and
The
even
medical.
I would even say people from medical and educational. Because they face dangers that we don't have to face, and they do it every day. As I came up with this idea for Eagle, I thought, that there's been many a rebranding out there for something that went wrong. When Value Jet crashed into the Everglades, they changed their name to AirTran.
that was a smart move.
It was a smart move,
Yeah.
okay? And they did very well. I flew AirTran. I liked that airline. And then they got bought by Southwest. So that was a good asset. That was a good move.
Talk
a
about branding.
rebrand.
You brought some stuff, didn't you?
I did.
Let's go see it before it's too late.
I like to think about the Eagle, today's Eagle, because there's not as many, but I'm trying to make the group a little bit bigger because I included the other people, but not as many as the Armed Forces veteran. There's a term called the Greatest Generation. Have you heard of that term?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So Tom Brokaw wrote the book like 1998, I believe. He coined the phrase Greatest Generation. And these are the people who they grew up in the Great Depression. They fought World War II, and then they came back and they built the greatest economy the world has ever seen. People like my grandpa, all right? This is my grandpa Collier. He was in World War II in the Navy, served in the Pacific Theater. This is my other grandpa, Jake.
Can people see this?
I don't know, maybe they can.
I think so.
So, there we go. So he was in the Army, also in the Pacific, okay? And my grandma, Rosie the Riveter, okay?
Rosie.
I love my grandma. She was building aircraft in
She looks like everybody's
in
grandma.
California. Yeah, my grandma.
Yep.
My Uncle Bob, who was in Vietnam, okay? Well, and he served two
looks
tours
just like you.
over there. I didn't know that he got 2 Bronze Stars until he passed away. This is my cousin. He's in law enforcement in Texas, but he started out in the Marines. Here's my dad, Air Force veteran, Vietnam time frame. Craig Collier, my dad. And then, of course, this guy. My picture's all tore up, but I was in the service too. So these are the people that I consider my Eagle family, okay?
Well, of
including me. And so, this little made up couple of stickers that could be made into like stickers or put on T-shirts or something like that. In fact, we're going to have a family reunion this summer, and I'm planning to make some T-shirts for all of my family.
Didn't you bring some T-shirts to show off?
Yeah, of course I did. Yeah.
Oh, well, what a
if you want
segue.
to get a little bit of merch, you can go on eagleimpact.com. This I have for you, Lisa, a shirt. That
Okay.
You can have that is
Thank you.
the
Very,
size
very
you
nice.
requested, and I've got also one for you, Norman.
Appreciate it.
Let's
Thank
see,
you.
You can have either a white one or a black one, and they got the eagle on there. So
Really nice.
if you can
Thank
see it, I
you.
don't know. Anyway,
Nice.
I really appreciate you.
So where do
having
people
me.
where can people buy these things?
You can go to eagleimpact.com. and
EagleImpact.com.
click on shop.
And what is your phone number so anyone can call you to get a hold of them and you?
Sure, you can call me at 484-633-5259. J.D. Collier.
Awesome.
I have some plans for tomorrow. Actually, I'm having a little surgery tomorrow on my hand, and I'll be in and I'll be out. But I want to get in touch. I have an idea for you.
What is it?
we're going to keep it quiet until,
He's not
All right.
going to share his ideas. He's not going to give that up yet.
because I think I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
But that's just my opinion. So we'll
Yes.
see what your viewpoint is on what I'm going to suggest to you.
All right.
I think it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I'm all ears. I'm one of the things that I consider having the skill or the attribute is strength.
Do you know Corey White?
No.
You're going to know him.
Okay. So strength is what I've decided strength is faith beyond yourself. So when you're in the service, you have this superpower, strength. You're just so strong. Why? Because you know you got somebody on the right, on the left, behind you. You can call for support anywhere.
Exactly.
Yep.
But
and that's your
that
brotherhood.
becomes a mindset. Okay.
Yep.
You step out of the service for a while there. I was kind of lost, but now I've gained my bearing back. Hey, I'm still me. I'm imbued with these attributes, including strength. Okay, and you just demonstrated one of the attributes of strength right there, because you're part of my circle. You're part of my mastermind. Okay, and you're part of my strength because now you're going to help me figure out something new.
Oh, yeah.
And
And,
I could see this developing into a support system amongst the VA, as you have people that are getting their recovery when they are back, your influence and your exposure to those soldiers or ex-soldiers.
Have you been to any of the VetSubmit offices?
About that, I probably I've stayed away because I've been healthy. I haven't had the need to go
But that's not why you're going
But
there.
it's
to
not
the.
it's not
You're
about
talking
that.
about the
It's about
veteran VA clinics.
You're
the
going to go to
clinics
the.
and yes.
Oh.
The organizations that have the VA individuals there that maybe need some guidance and help. Is there
But
something?
there's definitely people there for you.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Corey White is a gentleman that both Lisa and I met through networking. And
He's out of
Corey
Florida.
was a vet,
Okay.
and he came out, and he was one of those guys that had a really, really, really tough time. Really tough time. He is got it all back together again. He's actually an insurance salesman right now, but he's put that off on the side because he's still down in Florida saving people's lives and building up homes.
All right.
From
All right, and-
Hurricane Ian.
And he's in Florida. So now you
Yep.
got a Floridian contact that could help spread the. Now he's hooked up with a couple of other people. So this
lot of
could be,
other
and I
people.
will get you his phone number when we speak.
All right. I
All
appreciate
right,
that.
and you're
Yep.
going to love talking to him. He's the guy that you're looking for.
Okay.
To do your coaching and such too. He could
Yes.
probably even do some coaching. He
Yes.
doesn't have your personality. Different type of personality. He's a little bit. He's quieter.
Okay.
He's a little bit more quiet, but this guy gets through. He gets the point across, right, Lisa?
Yes.
He
yes.
really
And
gets
he-
his point across.
He's
He's on
communicator.
fire. Yep, he's on fire with what he's doing down there to serve the people of Hurricane Ian. He's there working with them, with doing the logistics of getting the meals out and, helping with getting the builds started.
Yeah, the
for
builds have
those
started. All
folks.
the houses have been
Yeah.
ransacked and taken. That's not a positive word, but they've been cleared out. All the furniture
to
and the old
redevelop
stuff.
everything.
Yeah,
Yep.
There you
Yeah.
go. That's why we
He
keep her
sounds like
hanging
he's
around.
a leader and he's tenacious.
All right.
Yes.
One more time because that time has hit us. The hour has gone by, believe it or not. I
Yeah.
told you it was going to be
I had to
fast.
get some water because I was talking so much.
And we didn't
Yeah,
even have
sh-
enough time to get into, so you're going to have to be back again.
Yeah.
I'm happy to.
And-
happy to.
Yes. And please share your number again so we can get that out for you.
Okay. My number is 484-633-5259.
Again.
I'm JD Collier.
Again.
484-633-5259.
Okay.
EagleImpact.com.
Great.
All right, we got that? All right.
Yeah.
Again, thank you. So you drove from out. Are you driving home tonight?
I'm going to get home.
Lisa does that. When she comes in here, she goes home also. She comes in, she has an office. First of all, is there a
Yes.
possibility that you could help him with your business?
Quite possibly. Quite possibly. Yes. We do alternative lending. we help the small business owners that are just thinking of an idea, and we can work on getting you set up so that you have everything in order for your business. And we
Like
have a
your
team
vets.
that guides you through. We'll have to have a conversation. We'll have to have lunch
And
in
app
Bethlehem.
development. Yeah, I do
You have
some
these
ideas,
vets
and
that
I
are
do need
looking
some
maybe
help, I
to
think.
start their own
Yeah.
businesses and what
Yeah.
to do and don't know where to
Yeah.
go.
All right.
That's where you go.
We can guide them and help them get the right footing so that they're not bootstrapping their personal credit as they go through, so that they can learn to separate the two and have success.
Nice.
You know, Lisa, I don't know if you know this. Lisa had been a guest on this show about 3-4 times over the last 2-3 years, and I even used her services. At one time, I needed to use them real fast, and she was right there, took care of everything 1, 2, 3. So she's a great source for someone like yourself or the people that are going to be clients.
All right. Great.
Or your students, I should say, because you're the
Students, yes.
coach.
Yes.
You're
Yeah.
the coach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I want to get people to sign up for Eagle Impact, go on the website, sign up, get their information, reach out to them, assign them to a virtual Eagle team.
You got to get some lists.
Yes.
You got to get lists.
Yes.
And how about the American Legion? No?
You know, I haven't done a lot with the American Legion. I do donate to them. I'm a member of the American Legion.
Sure you are.
You know, I do find that I don't have a lot of extra time, and that's not an excuse. It is just
That shouldn't stop you from getting a list of people.
no, it shouldn't. It shouldn't. I mean,
I'm going to ride your ass now. I'm going to make
okay.
sure that you do
All
all
right,
this stuff,
fine.
boy.
I've had it. I've had that. I've succeeded. You know.
All right.
The sergeant was on my ass, and
There you go.
I made it all the
Yep.
way through the forced march. You know.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you
Marine
so
Corps
much for
training.
being on the Business
Thank you.
Powwow
I
tonight.
want to thank you, Norman.
It was
and
great.
Thank you, Lisa.
I
I
really
really
appreciate
the
it.
You're very
opportunity.
welcome.
And if you have any friends that you think we could help or help support organizations and such, give me a buzz and
Okay.
let me know. All right. So you just stay in there, and we're going to say goodnight to everybody. Good night to everybody. No, we could do it a little classier
no,
than
come
that.
on, Norman.
All right. What do you got planned for next week?
Next week I'll be back in town, so I'll be around.
Good. Next week we have the young lady from Columbus, Ohio, that will be on,
very
and
nice.
you're going to be in kind of like almost in charge of that particular show, because you have a lot of stuff in common with our guest.
Yes,
All
that
right.
could be.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it could be. And for those of you that are interested, Saturday night we have our Motown concert, which is going to be in Elmont. And the tickets are really, really doing very, very well. So if you're interested, 631-698-9696, and we'll see what we can do to hook you up. And if you'd like to be on the Business Power Hour, give myself a call at 631-698-9696. Or Lisa, they can call you at
516-268-0350.
All right, it's great. So we thank everybody for tuning in again, and you have a great week, and we'll see everybody next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
See ya.
The Business Power Hour with Lisa and the Music Man is sponsored by Media Stations. Create your own media and have your own station. To get started with your own content, call or text 516-448-2066. That's Media Stations in Bohemia, New York.